Hello, me folks. Welcome back to RMC 2023 here in Minneapolis, St. Paul, Minnesota. And we're about to kick off this podcast series that are actually recorded during RMC. And to do this, we're going to be a little bit of different dynamic. We have CEO Colette Castor for the American Mid-Science Association. Thank you for having us here. Thank you. This is going to be your third time since Reno we started doing this. Thank you. Welcome to MeetSpace.
This year is the 76th edition, and very happy to have you able to meet up with so many of our meat scientists and people to collect messages and information to share actually coming straight out of the conference.
Yeah, and it's I think it's the best time because you have everyone here and you get overexcited because like you wanna talk with everyone. Hey, just sit down. But I think after this is the third time. I think you kind of learn like, okay, you have so much time to talk with so much people. So maybe we can do some Zoom meetings later. But I think what is new. I mean, what's happening during this RMC? I know compared to 2022, how many people are we expecting? Quick, brief overview of what's going on. We started yesterday, so this is Monday for everyone. So this is gonna be actually Tuesday because tomorrow this is gonna be published, so it's kind of different. But anyway, go ahead.
Okay. Well, first of all, we started here at RMC for the staff team, the volunteer group, and many of the board of directors began arriving on Thursday. And we kicked off our really week or weekend or both with the board dinner, the student board dinner on Friday night. Then we went into all-day board meetings, huge student events with the Iron Chef competition. Many of the things in this year's Reciprocal Meat Conference have been themed around the culture of Minnesota, as they like to say. And the Scandinavian culture is very big on things like casseroles, hot dishes. And so the Iron Chef students were given proteins, and they were to create either a savory or a sweet hot dish, also known as a casserole. While they were taking turns doing that, they also competed in a processed meat competition. And individuals went through, placed classes, looked at defects, learned from experts, such as your colleague, Noah Hall from UltraSource, who was the chairperson of the processed meat event, and he did a terrific job. I'm happy to say that I participated on a board team that made an attempt to compete with the students, but I don't know that we were very competitive. And then that night, we went into some additional meetings working on our Meet the Future endowment campaign, where we're trying to grow the association into perpetuity. And then went straight into Quiz Bowl yesterday. So we had rounds of Quiz Bowl beginning at 7 a.m. We had 36 teams from 25 universities competing in Quiz Bowl. So all told, we have almost 1,000 people here at this year's Reciprocal Meat Conference. There's 960 registrants. It's a new record for a sleepy little meeting that started with about 40 research scientists sitting around talking about meat, reciprocating, as we say. It has morphed into a really impactful industry event. And of those 960 registrants, about 350 of them are students, undergrad and graduate students from universities all over the United States.
I forgot to mention, but I would like to just talk because not only the meat science community listens to this podcast, we have a good audience that are small and mid-sized meat processors. Maybe you can briefly explain what is MSA and what is this conference for, and some of the objectives, because I mean maybe some of the folks listening, what is RMC, what is a reciprocal meat conference, but they're very involved in the meat industry. But I think this is, if you can maybe share with us some of the objectives.
Yep, that's perfect. AMSA stands for American Meat Science Association, and it is really the global community or society of people who study meat and apply its technology in the industry.
So it's not American only. It
definitely
should be,
not
it should be a
American.
global meat industry.
100%. It's in our mission and vision to work globally. We have many members who are from all over the world. We have an editorial board for our journal that is all of the leading global scientists. We have an international engagement committee, of which you are a member, that is working to try to coordinate and collaborate with other meat science associations in other countries, with research institutions, because meat science is a discipline that has become kind of concentrated in some areas. And so we want to make sure that the resources are still being put toward meat research at the institutional level, the university level. But what we really try to do is to focus on students, science, and service. And so we're developing the next leaders for the meat industry. We're the place that people can come for objective scientific information. We have members that work in every different type of protein. We have members that work in cell culture, live animal, slaughter, fabrication, processing, and then all the way through rendering and pet food as well. We have members that work in academia, in industry, in government. We have now 55 sustaining partners that are all the major meat companies and their supporting groups. We have a supplier coalition that includes packaging, ingredients, equipment, and services. So it's a broad collection of people. And one of the things that most people value the most about AMSA, and the chance, as you well know, when we get together, is if you're seeking information or an answer, we have members that can help you with almost any topic related to meat.
I think that the neat part, and you said there's a wide area of positions that are available. And when you think about meat industry, it's not only being on the queue floor or eviscerating, or no. I mean, it's basically, I mean, you're going to talk here soon with a person who is very known for animal welfare. That'll be tomorrow. Disclosure. I won't say the name, but
I think I know who it might be.
Okay. But it goes from animal welfare, you said, like all the way to even rendering. And when you think about a meat industry, you don't think about all those details, but it's actually very wide.
Yeah.
And
just to mention, of those companies and categories that I mentioned, then what happens is during the student events, we have a huge career fair. And so the students can go around, and all the different companies have tables. They have personnel that the students can visit with. And then that continues with our tech tables and our sustaining partner tables. So there's a lot of places where people can get both practical information and scientific information when they come to RMC.
Another thing that I think we're going to, the other component of this episode that we're doing this one-on-one, I think this is the first time that you and I are doing it. I think always we're more than two people doing it. But a more personal question that I like to ask is, when you came to MSA, I mean, you found it in kind of on a forum, and what it is, and that was what, 3-4 years ago?
Oh, when I joined as staff. Yeah. I thought you meant when I joined as a member, because that was a lot more years ago than that. Okay. But when I joined as staff was 2019, so 4 years ago. 4 years. So I came to AMSA first as a member, of course, many, many years ago. And then, as you pointed out, spent my entire career working in industry. And that's been super helpful. That's been a great background then to come into association work, because you can see things from a lot of different perspectives. I've experienced AMSA as a student and as a professional. I've experienced it as a graduate student working with the universities and with major professors. But what's really important to me is that an association moves at the speed of business. That is probably the thing that you'll hear people that work with me is we're going to move at a fast pace. We're going to be good custodians of people's money, and we're going to try to provide a return on their investment, whether it's your membership dues or whether you're a sustaining partner. So I know what it's like to have to go and to make those requests of your senior leadership to support things like AMSA or the Reciprocal Meat Conference. So I want to make sure that we're really providing tangible benefits for our members. whether they're industry members or academic members. I think, one thing to get off on a little bit of a tangent, but that I would like to share because this is really important to those people in the industry. Sometimes we see universities and we just take them for granted. And we think that they'll always be there, growing students, doing research. And we don't always support them. We do our own research. We, conduct our own investigations. We just assume that they'll always be there. We need to be very mindful in this time of cost cutting and focus on consolidation that we're supporting are very important. Land grant universities, our junior colleges, community colleges. There's a growing number with meets programs or meets related classwork. And we as industry background people, coming from that background, need to really support and nourish that.
Yeah, and until you're not in the industry, you don't understand that. And I guess I've been in the industry for a little over 2 years, but it's a very different perspective than coming as a student or in academia or coming from the industry. You just said fast pace. It's a different speed, and because if you think, you're in a plant. They're 8-hour shifts or 16-hour shift. They need food because they have a food service or they have a customer that they need that food because they're serving people. So you go back, you learn to be, I guess I can say reactive. Just you have to react fast. And you have brought this to MSA, like how to, I guess, I'm more industry oriented, and you bring a lot of people and you understand. I think that's kind of the key and the question that I was trying to formulate earlier, that it's different coming from academia and I guess the approach is different.
Yeah.
I guess that's
the other thing that I really enjoyed doing both in industry and I'm enjoying it with AMSA as well is collaboration and finding synergies. So finding things that really fit together well. A great example is the work that we're doing as part of the USDA Technical Assistance Provider Program. So we have experts. They need experts. And so AMSA can serve as the conduit to bring these two pieces together. And so really finding pathways for us to leverage our membership, that's something that's always on my mind, is making sure that anything that we do is additive. It's not redundant with some good work that somebody is already doing, and that it's building up the messaging or the resources for whether it's small plants and how they operate, food safety, animal welfare, even how to fabricate and market cuts, or if it is, supporting the people working in that area.
I think a word that can define you is execute. I don't know if that's, I just thought of it because it's, you plan, but sometimes the last part, sometimes there's some fear, right? Because you don't know how it's going to turn out, but you have to take the risk and execute, and you learn from that. And I guess it's easy to say, but it takes time to understand, to fall, and then just get back up. I don't know. We're going off the tangent, but I think these are good conversations.
One more item on that. I would be remiss if I didn't point out the fact that it is true in my role now is the same as was true as when I was in my industry role, and no leader of a group is doing that without the support of a huge team. And the team members that I have at AMSA, and I'm going to give one specific person a shout out, and that is Deidre Mabry, who is really the person responsible for the success of RMC, the growth of them. She is the best right-hand person anybody could ask for. And then we have, a great supporting team with the rest of the group, with Leslie, with Crystal, with Mariana, with Christy, with Rob. And so I want to make sure that I give them a shout out as well.
And I was speaking earlier with a colleague, and it's not easy to find the right people because not a lot of people want to do, for a position, like you get maybe 5 people, and out of those 5, none of them wanted or liked that position, but then you find one is like, this is the guy. And it takes leadership to kind of guide that, and I think that's something that you do very well, being the leader that you are in. And I have the next question is, how do you pick the topics? Because if you look back, I don't know, 6-7 years ago. I mean, the RMC topics that are, I mean, the reciprocal sessions, they change, and they change. How do they change? I mean, you can be the one to explain this.
This is a great question because it's something that we've spent some time thinking about. So we already covered that meat science is a super broad discipline, and that we have people who work in the very most basic of research areas, all the way through people who are super applied, or who are business leaders. I was actually looking around the attendees and thinking about how great it is that we have so many meat scientists who go into prominent positions of not just industry leadership, but a lot of the department heads are meat scientists who end up getting promoted to become department heads or even deans. So that is really exciting to watch. But to answer your question, to take a diverse group like that, it's a combination of the planning committee, who just got done meeting today. They start to look at what topics are really resonating within meat science. And so in this particular year, if you were in the general session, we talked about food insecurity. We talked about the importance of the role of meat, protein, amino acids in the diet, how that relates back to everything from health issues, weight control, metabolism. And so we look at what are the key and hot topics that are occurring that are important for us to make sure that we discuss at RMC. But we also want to be mindful that just because something is highly visible, that we don't get away from our core topics that are also important to make sure for some of our members. Here's a great example, processed meats, right? People take processed meats for granted. There's always ham, there's always bacon, we know how to make it. No, there's always developments, right? Ingredients change, label expectations change, raw materials change. And so we have a list of core topics that we make sure get represented in the RMC conference topics as those are built out. So we marry up what's coming in from the committee with those core topic areas, mash it all together for a year with lots and lots of input from lots of people, and it comes out into coherent tracks and combinations of general sessions, concurrent sessions, and then everybody's favorite reciprocation sessions. And we should talk for 1 second about the word reciprocate, because it's the R in RMC. And that is the idea that these aren't just lectures, that these are dialogues. These are questions, discussions. If somebody disagrees with somebody's research, they are fully free to stand up and say, I disagree, I have this data that says otherwise, blah, 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 back and forth. And so it's really meant to be collaborative and back and forth.
Yeah, no, and I think that's what makes RMC. Like
sure.
Having this dialogue is not only I'm presenting, it's like back and forth. I think we're getting to an end, but I love this conversation, and I hope everyone that is listening. So we have 2 more days. Well, yes, 2 more days for RMC. I would like to maybe go back with you maybe in 2-3 weeks to say how this wrapped and some of the comments and what got out of this discussion. So I think that's, I mean, like you said, maybe next year, all the things that we discuss, maybe more questions and more research, more hypotheses that will be hopefully investigated or getting more research will come and get a poster and just continue the advancement, the progress in the meat industry.
Perfect.
Thank you for all you do. I appreciate it.
From AMSA's perspective, I would just like to thank you, Francisco. And I would like to thank you for being such a great partner with MeatsPad. You do a wonderful job with that. And when I watch you prepare like you're doing, you're spending your entire conference. So you should be here to be able to participate in the conference. And for the 3rd year in a row that we've worked together, you are holed up in a room preparing and interviewing person after person. And I know that isn't an easy task. And so I just want to give a shout out to MeatsPad and
the team. We had Google
the team
here.
And thank you for all your efforts and for getting the word out about meat and meat science.
Yeah. Thank you a lot, and we'll see you soon.